Hi everybody, this is Luke speaking. I'd like to review this CD that I just got last Thursday, which is of course a CD by the legendary 60s pop group called the Dave Clark Five, who had many hit records in the 60s up until 1970 when they broke up. But a lot of these songs that they had back in the 60s still endure today and stood the test of time. And of course this is the same group that this year got inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they truly deserve to be there. And for the impact they've made on rock and roll. And of course, sadly, two of the original members are no longer alive. Of course, Dennis Payton, who left us in late 2006, and the lead singer and keyboard player Mike Smith, of course, sadly left us in February, just actually 10 days before the Hall of Fame ceremony was inducted. But their importance to the group will never be forgotten. This CD has 28 tracks, and I've got to say they're very good. I've played most of them, but I've got to say it's a great CD. Some great songs. A great sound, because they had a great sound, the Dave Clark Five. Brilliant musicians that they had, and just an amazing sound. As Tom Hanks would say, they had a joyful sound, and they did have a joyful sound. But yeah, it's just amazing. And whenever you hear songs like Do You Love Me, or Glad All Over, and Bits and Pieces, and Can't You See That She's Mine, or Over and Over, and Catch Us If You Can, it's just amazing that these songs that were made nearly 45 years ago, and it still endures today. I mean, it's just great music, great lyrics. It's just fantastic. It's a fantastic CD. I actually had ordered a CD from JB Hi-Fi, and it was imported actually from overseas. So it was only last week or 2 weeks ago I had a phone call from. I wasn't home, but I had a phone call came from me saying that the CD was there. But I'm glad I got the CD. I always wanted to get a Dave Clark 5 CD, but now I have it, and I'm just thrilled to bits. And also too, and I'm just glad it's here. So, and I can have my own Dave Clark 5 music to play with. But also, and I want to say too, to many Australians who were around at the time in 1965, they did an Australian tour. From May 26th to the 5th of June. They did play here in Brisbane at the Festival Hall. And the support act on the Dave Clark 5 tour were the Seekers. Of course, we already had On Earth Another You at that stage, and they were on the charts with A World of Our Own at that point. And also you had British pop star Tommy Quickly, who was managed by Brian Epstein, and also the Australian singing duo Bobby and Laurie, who already had a hit at that stage with I Belong With You. And also they had someone which was I think around that same time. I mean, that was their second single on the Go label. And some of the other Australian acts were support acts in different cities. In Brisbane you had the Escorts. Tony Worsley was a support act in Sydney and Adelaide, that's right. MPD Limited, which featured Mike Brady, was the support act in Sydney, Melbourne and Adelaide. The Henchmen were the support act in Melbourne, and the Showmen were the support act in Sydney. I mean, it's hard to believe 43 years ago, but there were some great acts on that tour. And some, of course, most of them are still around. Of course, Mr. Worsley's still alive, still singing around. Bobby Bright's still performing, of course. The Seekers don't exist, of course, but some of them are still around. Judith still sings, and of course Keith Potker performs these days. So, but back to the Dave Clark 5. I've got to say, I've got to give this 5 out of 5. It's just a great CD. It sounds so good on CD. It sounds great. And this is a must for any rock and roll fan of the 60s, or if you're a fan of British rock of the 60s. If you're able to get this somewhere, either on eBay or if you can go and get it, because this is great. And it's just great rock and roll, and it's great music to boogie to. And I want to say, have a good night everybody, Merry Christmas and a safe New Year, and don't forget to leave the money on the fridge. Pickle me grandmother. Well, have a good night everybody. Bye.